here's the first one. You don't negotiate here. Many of us have very clear rules in our head about what is and is not negotiable. And probably the source of those rules was a function of the interaction between our culture, and by the way, that culture may be culture of origin, where, you know, what country you grew up in, but more specifically, and probably more predictably, is culture of family. How did your parents behave? How did they negotiate? That will tell a lot about how you will think and what you will think as opportunity to negotiate. Secondly, what we also find is that people will have different rules depending upon their own personal experiences. So maybe you've been in some situations where you saw people, you would never negotiate there, but you saw somebody else do it and they were successful, and that broadened your view of what might be negotiable. I use this information quite usefully in my class in negotiation. I teach an MBA class at Stanford to negotiate in a negotiation course. And the first assignment that the students have is, and you have to remember, these are students at Stanford, so they are predominantly, they've been enculturated in sort of the U.S. culture. And the U.S. culture does not negotiate a lot. We have times when we negotiate, and usually it's big-ticket items, non-routine, but we don't see ourselves as negotiating on a day-to-day basis. And so the first assignment is, I ask them to go out into the world, okay, in the 48 contiguous United States, so they must stay within the continental United States, and bring back an item to class with proof that they have paid less than the fixed price for that item. So if they bought it on sale, less than the sale price. So they have to go to a store, a grocery store, a pharmacy, somewhere where you don't normally negotiate, and negotiate. Now, my students are stunned by that assignment. They do not like it at all. Because in the U.S., we don't negotiate. And so what I'm telling them by that assignment is they have to go out and they think, make a fool of themselves. Like they have to go to their dry cleaner and say, the dry cleaner hands them the clean, and they go, no, no, I need to pay less. It's like, what are you talking about? So here's what happens. I ask them, how many think you can be successful at this assignment? And overwhelmingly, the hands that go up are my international students. The Americans are like, no, we'll never do this. At the end, what do you think? What percentage of my overall student body is able to achieve this? Most people guess somewhere between 30 to 50%, and the answer is 80%. It turns out it's a really easy exercise. But when they are forced to do it, they realize that, in fact, oftentimes what's happened is they are limiting their negotiation capability by not asking, by not initiating a negotiation. And so then we explore that a little further. Because the question is, why is it, when there are so many opportunities to negotiate, that you choose not to do so? You choose not to take advantage of that. And one of the biggest reasons that people report why they choose not to negotiate in situations where they might even know that other people do is that they are very concerned about what negotiation says about them. They're very uncomfortable with the process. In fact, what they have is they have a motivated misperception. And what does that mean? That means I don't really like to negotiate, so I don't see the world as offering me negotiation opportunities. There are people who so hate negotiation that even in situations where most of us would say, absolutely, that's an opportunity to negotiate, they go, oh, no, no, not here. Think about the last time you started a new job. Seems like a perfect opportunity to negotiate. And yet we have lots of evidence that people, and certain groups of people, do not attempt to negotiate. And so the question is, why not? And if you really push people, what they'll say is, well, there's two reasons they'll give you. Let me give you, first reason is not that important, it's not that common, but it's one of them, and I'll give you the second one, which is really important, we're going to focus on. The first one is social comparisons. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine me, okay? I've been studying negotiation for 25 years. I do research in negotiation. I teach negotiation. The last thing I want to happen is for me to go out, buy a new car, and find